Today we'll be talking about the era of connected construction. Actually, one of the reasons that informed this talk is that we tend to talk a lot about BIM today, but when you look at the practical implementation of BIM, I mean, in our day-to-day works and I mean, across wherever we're training from, you see that a lot of time we tend to apply BIM mostly to the design stage. So how do we begin to take BIM beyond the design stage? Yeah, so that's one of the things that informed this presentation today. So I'll be looking at how we can take BIM beyond design, and I'll be making reference to specific tools and solutions in the market. So, but before I start, of course, I have to introduce myself a bit. So, firstly, I'm one of the directors of BIM Africa Initiative. I'm also one of the founding members of the initiative. And by background, I'm an architect by profession. My day-to-day work recently, I tend to do a lot of BIM modeling and also system design, which is what I've been doing for the past couple of years. I'm also a co-founder of a BIM consultancy and IT integrations outfit in Nigeria called Blaze Inc. And I also create a lot of contents. I mean, 2 years ago, I authored a book, Essentials of Smart Building Technology, that is currently available on numerous ebook stores. And I also create so many other contents. I write long form articles, I create illustrative images and whatnot. And I also create online courses. I create courses for Udemy, for LinkedIn Learning, for Blaze Online Academy, and all that. And because I tend to use a lot of software, I am also certified in a couple of them. I'm an Autodesk Certified Professional for Revit Architecture and MEP disciplines, both mechanical and electrical disciplines. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm a LinkedIn Learning instructor. So that's quite much about me. So like I said, I'll be looking at how BIM can be implemented beyond the design stage. So before I actually start looking at the implementation aspects of BIM, it's important to also talk around the whole aspect of BIM, because when you look at BIM today, it begins to sound like a buzzword, and it's quite wide, it's quite cumbersome, and it can end up meaning several things to different people. So just as a background, some weeks ago, I created this poll on LinkedIn where I wanted to find out the primary reasons why people create 3D models in the build sector. I mean, I asked what's the primary reason, the number one reason why people create 3D models, and I put up these 4 options. So you can see that some people create 3D models because they want to visualize the project better. Some people, they want to coordinate the project. Some people because they want to document the project better. Some people because they want to gain more insights about the project. There are so many other reasons people create 3D models. So see that you cannot be doing the same thing, but you can also be doing it for several other reasons. And that is one of the things that BIM is used for today. So BIM today is beginning to be used for several other things, and it could end up having several meanings to different people. For example, if you look at this image here on the screen, these are all 3D models. If you look at the first one here, this is most likely created for a product design. And then the one up here is probably created for for an entertainment scene, maybe a music concert or a scene in an animation movie or whatnot. And then this one here is created for an automobile brand or product or whatnot. That so during the product design stage, they are trying to simulate and make up their mind on how the project will eventually look like. And then this one might be a character that has been created for an animation movie and whatnot. So this one could be an interior design created by, an architect or an interior designer or whatnot. And this one could be have been created by an MEP firm. These are all 3D models. So you see that there are several reasons why people create 3D models. It all depends on where they're coming from and where they're going. The same applies to building information modeling today, right? So 3D modeling is just a typical example. So this just points to the fact that you can do similar things, and yet to produce a completely different outcome for completely different purposes. The meaning we attach to things these days is mostly based on our expectations and perhaps our experience levels as well. So if you look at the build sector, you see that we've made a lot of progress in digital transformation and technology adoption in the past few decades. We have quickly progressed from just 2D drafting to 3D modeling. Some people call it a progression from documentation to data optimization. Some others call it a progression from CAD, which is computer-aided design, to BIM, which is building information modeling, right? So, but because these are all generic words today, they tend to mean the same thing. But today, when you actually search, when you go to Google today and type what is BIM, you might be tempted to think that BIM means the same thing. But when you see the definitions that come there, you see that BIM is defined in so many ways. Some of the definitions come from professionals in the industry, some of them come from academia, some of them come from manufacturers that actually provide the software that we use to make BIM possible. So these things have different meanings and different connotations from different people, right? I mean, before I even move further, I mean, this is one of the most popular definition of BIM that we find in the industry today, the one from the National Institute of Building Sciences, where they define BIM, building information modeling, as a digital representation of the physical and functional characteristics of a facility that serves as a shared knowledge resource for information about a facility, forming a reliable basis for decisions during its life cycle from inception onwards. This is quite a mouthful of definition. Or basically, if you break this down a bit, you see that it's basically saying that you are creating a digital representation of a facility that also contains the physical and functional characteristics of that facility. And then this serves as a shared knowledge resource of information. So that digital representation that are creating contains a lot of information, which you now use to form a reliable basis for your decisions across the entire life cycle. So if you also look at this, see that BIM spans the entire life cycle of a built asset, all the way from the planning to design to construction to even the operations phase. But today, we tend to look at BIM, I mean, we tend to implement BIM mostly during design stage. Perhaps that's the lowest hanging fruits that we find in the market today. But you also think about it in a more practical term, you see that the bottom line for implementing on a project for a design consultant is typically different from that of a general contractor. I mean, we have stakeholders in the industry, but then the reason why we actually implement BIM on projects is still different. The reason why a consultant implements BIM on projects is mostly to do a proper project coordination and design of that project, mostly the design stage, while a consultant is thinking more of the operations, I mean, of the constructions and implementation phase of that project. You also look at it, you see that the bottom line also for a trade or subcontractor is different from that of a building owner. A building owner thinks more about the operations phase of the facility. How does it save costs during operations? How does it minimize waste and all that during the operations phase? Why the subcontractors is still thinking about the construction stage of that facility. And then you still have academics in our industry as well, doing a lot of research in the industry. And also you have software vendors that provide the technology that even makes this whole BIM practicable in the first place. So there are so many stakeholders, and BIM actually means different things to all these stakeholders. And if you also look at it, there's even not a sharp demarcation between these stakeholders. You can still be a manufacturer and be a contractor, for example. You can be a researcher and still work for a software vendor and whatnot. So it's a whole web of meaning that we attach to BIM at the end of the day. So you might also want to ask yourself what exactly BIM means to you, and why exactly do you implement BIM on projects. But as we soon see, there's a need for us to stop thinking about what exactly I'm doing with BIM and begin to think about how we actually connect with each other. Because at the end of the day, we are delivering one built asset or one facility, but we are beginning to work in our own different silos and all that. So which we'll soon look at very soon into this presentation. So, I mean, this is one of the popular images that also summarizes the various BIM uses that we find in the industry today. I mean, there are so many reasons people implement BIM, and this has been summarized by the Building Smarts BIM Project Execution Planning Guide. So this is just an extraction from the guide, and it states that there are 25 major BIM uses in the industry today, and these have been broken down into 4 major phases, from the planning stage to the design stage to the construction to the operation. So when you look at some of these BIM uses, some of them have even span across the entire stages. For example, existing conditions modeling here spans across the entire 4 stages. Cost estimation, the same thing, phase planning, all the way from planning to construction. And they have programming and site analysis that span from plan to design. The same with design reviews. Then when you go to design stage, you begin to think about design authoring and so many forms of analysis, LED evaluation, code validation, and then start talking about design and construction, where you start seeing 3D coordination, site realization planning, construction system design, digital fabrication, 3D control and planning, all the way to the operations phase, where you start talking about record modeling, maintenance scheduling, building systems analysis, asset management, space management, and tracking, disaster plan. So there are so many reasons why you can implement BIM on a project, and you cannot even you cannot apply all these uses on one project. At the end of the day, it still boils down to what exactly are you trying to achieve on that project and where BIM can come in, right? So, for example, when you look at it in more, as a consultant on a project, you're probably more concerned with the uses that are found during the plan and design stage. So that's where you probably, as a design consultant, that's where you probably focus more of your energy on. And then as a general contractor or subcontractor, probably more focus on the construction stage BIM uses. And then as a building owner, as a client, You probably want to focus on the operation stage BIM uses. So there are so many reasons why you might want to implement BIM on a project, right? So, but why the industry has made a monumental leap in recent years from just this 2D drafting to data optimization to what the diverse BIM uses and several more of them, you still see, like I mentioned earlier, the workflows are generally still siloed. I mean, when you look at the general, the traditional contract method used on projects, which is popularly referred to as the design build. You see that you have the consultants, they are the ones that come together during the design stage of a project to, I mean, design that facility. In an ideal scenario, they use BIM software, they come together, they collaborate, they coordinate, and at the end of the day, they produce intelligent BIM models. So in that case, they've applied BIM on the project. But after that, they now put it up for bid, and then the contractors now begin to come into the scene. So the contractors and the subcontractors can still come into the project and still say that they want to implement BIM on this project. So they also implement BIM to save costs on sites and do all that. But at the end of the day, still see that yes, these people are implementing BIM on projects, but they are still working in silos. In fact, it's not even in every project that I even see the various consultants really collaborate in real time. In fact, a lot of time the architects might finish creating the BIM model and send to the MEP engineers. They will now link it into their own model and do their own stuff, send to the structural engineers. So it's even the collaboration during these various stages is still kind of disintegrated, not to talk of to now connect the whole stakeholders you find on the project. So this is basically where you can now begin to look at how BIM can actually connect all these stakeholders. Of course, in more developed clients, they're already going beyond this traditional contract method and are looking at more integrated contract methods, such things like design and build or integrated project delivery and whatnot. So these are ways, these are all looking at how to address this integration that we find in our industry. So you see that while these diverse stakeholders in the build sector might attach different meaning to BIM, the penetration of cloud-based solutions into the sector is increasingly connecting the stakeholders and their respective activities. So, like I mentioned earlier, as an industry, we move from just 2D drafting to data optimization or from CAD to BIM. But for us to now truly connect all these stakeholders in real time, we now need to move to basically what's called the era of connection, where we are now connecting everybody in real time. And what makes this possible is cloud-based solutions, because for these solutions to be hosted on the cloud, that is what removes the geographical limitations that we have on projects. I mean, today that we're now beginning to come to terms with remote working and stuff like that. So you see that cloud-based solutions is what can actually make it possible for the different stakeholders to collaborate from whatever part of the world that they find themselves in. And that is what the remaining part of this presentation will be looking at. So there are so many solutions in the market today. There are solutions, I mean, cloud-based tools. There are solutions from the likes of Procore, from the likes of Trimble and whatnot. There are so many of them. But I'll just make reference to a particular solution, which is the one from Autodesk, or the one called the Autodesk Construction Cloud, which is basically an umbrella brand for Autodesk suite of AC offerings that connects workflows, teams, and data across the entire life cycle of a project through one command data environment, otherwise known as Autodesk Docs. So basically, this is what the Autodesk Construction Cloud looks like. As you can see, it's also been these products or the solutions you find under this umbrella branch has been broken down into the various stages of a project. Some of them are found under design, some of them under plan, some of them under build, some of them under operate. So under the design stage, you begin to see such things as the Autodesk AC collection, BIM Collaborate, and BIM Collaborate Pro. And then under the plan stage, which is basically the stage between design and build, according to Autodesk, you begin to find solutions as Autodesk Quantify, Autodesk BIM Collaborate, Assemble, and Building Connected. And then during the building or the construction stage, you begin to find Autodesk Integrated Build app, which comes with Plan Grid and Autodesk Cost as well. And they also have the Autodesk BIM Collaborate, BIM 360 Plan, and Pipe. And then during the operations phase, you have the BIM 360 Ops and Autodesk BIM Collaborate. So all these solutions basically come with the common data environment, which is the Autodesk Docs, which also comes with the Autodesk AC collection. And this Autodesk Docs basically serves as the document management and also the cloud storage for all these solutions. So, like I mentioned earlier, there are solutions from Procore, from Trimble, from Bentley, from Upland, from Graphisoft. There are so many of them, but I guess when it comes to Africa or Nigeria, one of the most popular software providers is Autodesk. So perhaps it's more popular and it's also very integrated in the sense that it's kind of combines both the BIM authoring software like Revit and all the things you find under the Autodesk AC collection with all the management and costing and so many other solutions that are all within this. So it's kind of a very complete solution. But like I said, there are so many other solutions as well. You can also do your research to make a more informed decision. the end of the day. So basically, I will use Autodesk Construction Cloud to demonstrate how the cloud can truly connect every stakeholder on a project over the entire building lifecycle, from concepts and design to scale and project management to own, operate, and manage and maintain, and even to execute the construction. So very briefly, I will try to look at how this Autodesk Construction Cloud can actually help to connect. So we're talking about the era of connection. How do we connect all the stakeholders on a project in real time through the entire phases of a project delivery lifecycle? So I'll start with the plan and the design phase. So the plan and design phase. So first thing is that the way the Autodesk Construction Cloud is designed is that it comes with modules. For example, if you look at this top left corner of the screen, you see a module here, design collaboration. So there are different modules depending on the solution that you buy. It will come with some modules. For example, you have the BIM Collaborate Pro that enables people to collaborate in real time in Revit and some other BIM authoring software. If you purchase that, for example, it comes with design collaboration, module coordination, and the docs module. So these actually come in modules, and this is just an interface of the design collaboration module. So basically, through the design and the planning phase, this is where most of the consultants actually spend most of their time, right? So design consultants on a project, they can collaborate and coordinate in real time using the design collaboration, document management, and model coordination modules of Autodesk Construction Cloud. So like I mentioned, there are different modules within the entire solution, but these three modules, the design collaboration, document management, and model coordination, those are the three major modules that you apply mostly during the design and the planning phase of the project, right? So basically, like I mentioned, it's a cloud-based solution, and because it's cloud-based, most of the file formats you have in the industry today can be open natively on the cloud. You don't need to install Revit for you to be able to open a Revit file that was uploaded by a designer on the project, or an ArchiCAD file or IFC file or whatever, AutoCAD file or whatever. So Autodesk Docs, which is the community environment, can actually open over 70 industry file formats on the cloud, and also has a mobile app. So even through the mobile app, you can open a 3D model, navigate through it, cut sections, make comments and whatnot. So basically a cloud hosted tool that makes it possible for everyone on the project to collaborate and coordinate in real time. So these are just some features within the whole Autodesk Docs that makes coordination during the design very possible. First of all, reviewers on the projects can easily make their contributions using the various markup tools in the 2D and the 3D view of Autodesk Construction Cloud. So like I mentioned, you don't need to have the authoring software like Revit or Civil 3D or whatever. As long as you have the license and have access to that module, you can make comments, you can make annotations, you can raise issues and whatnot. You can do all these things. So as a reviewer on the project or as a manager on the project, all you have to do is access the files on the cloud and make your contributions from whatever part of the world you are. And the designers on the project will see it, take note of it, and update it in their modeling tools, right? And then also changes across different versions of the 2D and 3D files and documents can be graphically reviewed right on the cloud. So this is also another interesting aspect. So as the project progresses, as you upload, as you synchronize the project and you make updates, basically what the platform does is that it assigns new version number to it. So let's say that 3 months ago, the architecture team, their Revit model on the cloud, the version number was 20. And then 3 months later, which is today, the version number is now 50. Let's say as a project manager on that project, you need to find out what have changed between those 2 periods of time. Let's say within the past 3 months, you want to find out what has changed. All you have to do is you just go in there, click on the model, you see a compare to, you click on the two versions, and then the platform will show you what has been added, which will show in green, what has been removed, will show in red, and what has been modified will show in yellow. So graphically, you can narrow down on each of these various elements and compare the state of those elements between those two versions. You can look at all the changes. So this is a very change management, it's a very great change management tool that you don't even need to work on the authoring software. This is not just limited to the Autodesk tools as well, even non-Autodesk software. As long as you have the version numbers of those two of the same file, you can just compare this and see what have changed. So you see that during design, this is a very great thing to allow the managers or the reviewers of the project track changes on that project. And then even clashes between the interdisciplinary models can be easily identified and resolved through the combination of the authoring tools and the Autodesk Construction Cloud platform. So basically, that's what the model coordination model of this platform is used for. Basically, you can go in there and federate different models. For example, what you see on the screen here is a combination of the MEP and the architectural model. So from this federated model, you can begin to see where the pipes are clashing with the walls, where the ducts are clashing with the ceiling, and stuff like that. All this on the cloud, and you can begin to resolve any of these issues. By the way, if you have any question, feel free to drop it on the comment section so that when I'm done, I can also attend to your question. So the model coordination platform, the module of this platform, basically allow all the stakeholders to coordinate all the issues. This is similar to what Navisworks manage is actually used for. But now this is on the cloud and it's automated in a lot of ways. And now this also is becoming more intelligent because even the modeling the model authoring software like Revit, they now Revit and Navisworks recently they released a new add-in which is called the issues add-in. So basically what happens is that when the managers or the reviewers create these issues on the cloud, you can see those issues right within the modeling software. And when you click, so you will see this yellow dot here. When you click on that dot, it will take you to whatever the information that's contained in that issue. And then you can resolve these issues right on the modeling software. You don't even need to go to the cloud anymore. So you see how this connects everybody in real time. While the modelers are working on their modeling software like Revit, the reviewers are reviewing it on the cloud and everybody's integrated. And they don't have to be in the same location to do this. From any part of the world, everybody's connected in real time to actually make all this coordination work. So all these I've been talking about is mostly during the building design and the plan phase. Then now to look at some of the building stage and the operation stage, the construction stage and the operation stage, I also look at some other modules of this platform. So basically during this stage, you are making use of some other modules. You are making use of mostly the build module, the cost module, and the Docs module, like I mentioned earlier. So these are some of the features that also come with this. So if you look through this menu, this is the menu of the build module that you find within the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So I will just quickly run through some of these features in a bit. So the truth is that general contractors, subcontractors, suppliers, manufacturers, clients, consultants, and every other major stakeholder on a building project, they can coordinate in real time on the field. So this is now during construction. They can coordinate in real time on the field using the build, document management, and the cost modules of Autodesk Construction Cloud. So this is now 3 other modules as well: the document management, the build, and the cost module. So this connected construction workflow helps to bring about immense savings in cost and time on projects during the construction stage. So I'll just run through some of these features. The first one I have there is the sheets feature. So basically, this sheets feature, what it allows you to do is that it helps you to easily publish existing BIM models on the project for those in the field. So the model is already hosted on the cloud. It's already hosted on the same platform. So you don't have to go to your authoring software and begin to print your sheets to PDF and begin to send emails to the engineers on site. No, what you have to do is if you go to the same model on the cloud, just go to the model and publish the sheets, and then send it to the folder for the guys on the field. So if that file is updated tomorrow, the process is much more easier. So everybody's working from the same platform. All you have to do is go to the model, publish the sheets, send it to the folder, and the guys on site can have the sheets. Everybody's working together, not through a disjointed workflow. And then you also have the forms. So basically what happens is that the project managers on site, they create what is called the form templates. So the form templates, they create those templates for the artisans or the workers on site. And then at the end of the day, all they have to do is to go and pick one of those templates and then report what they've done for that day, depending on the content of that form. So basically, this enable project managers to set up the activity checklist and collect information from the workers on the job site. So you see that when this is done, what the project manager, all you have to do is to come to this place, generate a report for all the workers on the site, and you can gain an overview of what is happening. So with this, you can easily manage multiple sites without having to run up and down every day. So that's basically what this forms tool is used for. And they also have the issues feature. So these issues features basically helps to identify anomalies on a project either during the design stage or even the construction stage. So whether it's during design, you can raise issues. Whether it's on the site, you can raise issues. For example, you can go to a site and you can see something that is not properly installed. You can snap a picture, raise an issue from this platform, and attach that picture to the issue. And then you assign that issue to somebody, assign a due date to it, assign a priority level to it, and whatnot. And everybody on the project can see that issue and they will all attend to it until it's finally resolved. So this is a good way to address all the problems that are ongoing on a site. This could also, if you look at some of the issues I see here, see that some of them has to do with clash, which is during the design stage, some of them are design. So the issues actually spans through the entire life cycle of the whole project. You can find it in the design stage, you can also find it on the construction stage. And they also have and RFI. So basically, a formal request for information, RFI is used when information is required from the project member. So basically, there's something called the RFI workflow on this platform. The way it works is that the general contractor, the subcontractors on the project will raise and for a request for information. Maybe they want to get information from the architects or the designers on the project. So the subcontractors, they will raise the RFI. Also the general contractor can also raise RFI. But then the general contractor on the project that we review that RFI and make it open. So once it now makes it open, the designers or the consultants on that project will now see it, and then they will now provide the required information. So this is basically a structured way of managing requests for information between all the between all the stakeholders on the project. So when you look at this, you see that when all the information requests on a project is centrally managed from a platform, you cannot wake up tomorrow and begin to, begin to deny what has happened and all that. Just like on a project where you begin to send emails and then there are emails flying in different directions, it's very hard to manage how the information flows. But if you're working through a formal RFI on this platform, you see that everybody is actually, all the information is centrally managed from a central location. Right. So you also have the meetings. So the meetings, just like now, this could actually be a meeting. This could be a site meeting you're having. So the meetings to set in Autodesk Build, it allows the project managers to create meetings, track attendance, create agendas, and also create minutes. So basically, the meeting is also part of the build. So what it does is that all the activities on that project can be part of the meeting agenda. So you can see the site kickoff meeting activities. These are actual activities on the projects that have been used to populate the agenda of this meeting. So what happens is that during the meeting, the manager can now be tracking all those activities, and then anyone that is closed, you just simply change the status from open to close or in review or whatnot. So you see that all the activities on the project easily integrate into the meetings. And as you can see, this can also integrate with third-party meeting platform like Zoom. We are currently on Zoom right now, so you can also integrate your Zoom account with this platform, and then everybody on the project, all the meetings, coordinations, and everything on that project is properly integrated. So you see that this begins to connect all the stakeholders on that project. And even at the end of the meeting, the agenda or the minutes of that meeting is automatically sent out to everybody who attended the meeting. If you need to set up a follow-up meeting, you can easily set up a follow-up meeting, and all the agendas that were not closed in the previous meeting will easily translate to the follow-up meeting. So you see how this can easily create a more cohesive coordination between all the stakeholders on the project. And then you also have the submitter. So submitter is the workflow is quite similar to that of RFI. The only difference now is that instead of requesting for information, you're mostly exchanging documents and whatnot. So the submitter feature enables documents created for consumption by other parties on the project to run through a formal review process in this Autodesk build. But basically, it's still the subcontractors or the general contractors that create it, and then the architects or the consultants review it and provide whatever information or documents that they ask for. And then you also have the assets tool, which begins to gradually move towards the operations phase. So basically, the assets tool in Autodesk Build allows teams to easily track and manage the life cycle of all the project assets and equipment from design through commissioning and handover. So through these assets, you can account for all the assets on that project, so that when you're doing the construction, all these assets have been accounted for. When you now get to the operations phase, you see that you practically have all the information about that facility. And this basically saves a whole lot of waste during the operations phase. And they also have the reports tool, which provide a central location to create, configure, schedule, and view reports. So basically, you can create reports from all these other modules. You can create an RFI report. You can create a report from your forms. But through these forms here, through the reports tab here, you can see basically a central location to create, configure, schedule, and view all the reports you have on that project. And then the cost is actually a module on its own. The way you have the build module, you also have the cost module. So this is now like managing all the cost, the budget changes, and all the change orders and whatnot that are ongoing on the construction site. So this is also where project managers, quantity surveyors, and all that also spend most of their time on this platform. So this cost is not the costing that you do during design. It's actually the costing that is done during the construction phase. So which is why it's part of the build solution. So the Autodesk cost it's quite robust. It's just a model on its own. But you can see that from here, you can manage expenditure, you can manage income, you can manage change orders, files, and so many things under the cost module. So it's quite an elaborate model on its own. And you also have the insight module, which is more or less like the artificial intelligence or the analytics arm of the entire platform. So basically, the insight modules delivers a unified project level data analysis and predictive insights on a project. And this also integrates with partner data and analytics and also construction IQ. So this also integrates with so many other analytics platforms, things like Power BI and so many other platforms that you can actually export this data to and make a more informed analysis. So this is they come in form of cards or like a dashboard. And if you purchase other solutions too, let's say you have access to other solutions like HoloBuilder or SmartView.io and so many other popular solutions in the market, you can integrate the data coming from all those solutions into your analytics or the insight module of this platform. And from there, you can now begin to extract all the data and begin to, basically artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all that. This is basically what is designed for. With this, you can improve on your existing projects, you can learn from them, and also improve on your future projects. That's basically the function of the insight model. So when you look at all this, see that all this bring about a truly connected construction workflow with all the graphical and non-graphical information about a project or assets going into a common data environment from the design to the project handover. The facility manager and the owner will now have enough information to efficiently manage their facility. So the illustration so far have been with Autodesk construction classes of solutions. I keep mentioning this. That does not imply that this is the only solution in the market. There are also other solutions that can probably do the same thing. But of course, the whole idea of this is to show you how the various stakeholders on a project can actually be connected. And this is unlike what we see in an average project today. Most of the projects that we'll find today, everybody is just working in silos, trying to protect their interests. If they have to backstab another stakeholder to get their own interests across, they don't mind another. But when everybody is actually working in a more integrated manner, you see that this becomes much more efficient and our project becomes much more effective as well. So in the beginning of this, I also asked what BIM actually mean to you, but the truth is that BIM can mean a multitude of things to a myriad of stakeholders, companies, and geographical locations based on multiple factors. There are so many reasons that people are attached to BIM, but if you look at it from a holistic viewpoint, the meaning we append to BIM and the expectations we have of BIM, they're not as important as the connection that BIM can actually bring when properly deployed with all these cloud-based solutions. So the whole idea is to actually leverage the collaboration features of BIM to connect all the stakeholders on the project. And this is basically what we refer to as the era of connected construction. And this doesn't have to be limited to just the design stage. This can actually span all the entire project delivery life cycle from planning to design, construction, and also the operations phase of a project. So, like I also mentioned earlier, I'm an instructor at LinkedIn Learning, and a few months ago, I became an instructor. And coincidentally enough, I think tomorrow or latest by Monday, my first course on LinkedIn Learning is to be going live. And most of the courses I create on LinkedIn Learning are centered around these digital transformation tools and trends and whatnot. So, like the course I'll be dropping tomorrow or by Monday is going to be talking about how to collaborate in Revit using BIM Collaborate Pro software. So, it's a practical solution. So, you might also want to check that out. You can just search my name on LinkedIn. My name is Onyema Udeze. So, I'll be announcing the courses as they drop over time. So, thank you very much for your time. At this juncture, if there's any question, I'll be very glad to attend to them.
So guys, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question or drop it on the chat box. There's one question on the chat box.
Okay. Okay. You say, please, in relation to costing using BIM, how can one go about it? So it depends on costing at what stage. So if it's during the design stage, there are software that there are costing software in the market today, mostly for quantity surveyors. Of course, authoring software like Revit, they also have built-in features like scheduling. So you can extract information from your BIM models right within Revit in form of schedules. Of course, you have other software like Navisworks Manage, CostX, and so many other tools. So basically, what those tools, some of them they use 3D models, some of them can actually extract quantities from 2D models. So when you impute those information into the costing tool, then you can do your cost estimation or quantification. You can extract your quantities from those tools. So for example, if you take a Revit model into Navisworks, you can do a quantity takeoff from it. And then you can also take that information to Excel and do intensive, more intensive quantification or estimation within the software. So that's during design. But if it's during construction, like I mentioned here, a software like or a solution like Autodesk Build also have a cost module. So that cost module now helps you to manage all the expenditures, all the income, all the change orders that take place during the construction stage. So it depends on which of them you're referring to. Perhaps it might shed more light, it might explain your question better, but really it depends on which stage. If it's during design stage, then you make use of those tools like Navisworks and CostX. If it's during construction, then you have the likes of Autodesk Build for the site coordination. So I hope that answers your question.
Any other question, guys? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I think seems there is no other question.
Okay. Mr. Emmanuel, if you want to connect with me, you can check me up on LinkedIn. My name is Onyema Udeze. I'm very much active on LinkedIn. Okay, this is a
Okay, I
guy.
guess we will close now. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone got an opportunity to learn a thing or two. Please connect with him on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Do have a lovely evening. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.